Once upon a time, in a coastal village, there lived a humble fisherman named Edward. Edward was known for his dedication and skill in fishing, often venturing far into the sea to bring back the best catch for his family and village. One morning, Edward set out on what seemed to be a routine fishing trip. The weather and the sea was calm, and the sky was clear. He sailed far beyond the usual fishing grounds, drawn by a promise of good harvest. Hours turned into days, and Edward followed the signs of fish, losing track of time and distance. Till that time, he had not caught any fish, so he wanted to try for one last time. Suddenly, the climate changed. The sky darkened, the sea roared, and the winds howled, and the waves towered over his small fishing boat. It was a storm. Despite his efforts to steer through the tempest, the storm was relentless. A massive wave crashed onto his boat, shattering it into pieces. Edward fought against the waves. His strength was waning. He was exhausted and nearly unconscious. At last surrendered to the will of the sea. When he woke up, he found himself on the shore of a remote island. He was weak but alive. The island was lush but uninhabited, and Edward found himself stranded with limited resources. He managed to find food and water, but had no means of signaling for help. For sheltering himself, he built a small hut out of the woods which were available in the island. Days turned into weeks, and Edward struggled to survive. His resources of food and water were also less. He was very depressed and sad. Edward's hope began to wane. He was very sad. He began to pray to God. One evening, Edward burned a small piece of wood for cooking food. He kept it near the hut and went to collect some water. The fire unexpectedly catches the dry bush of the hut and spreads rapidly. On seeing his hut on fire, he was shocked. He began to curse himself and in anger raised his hands towards the sky and said, "God, I have been praying for some help, but you didn't listen. Now my shelter also has been destroyed. I am fed up with my problems." Edward kept complaining till night and fell asleep. Early in the morning, he heard a big sound and saw a ship anchored near the island. He began to run towards it. Edward was very happy. He got onto the ship, and the ship started sailing. The captain of the ship came to him and asked how he was struck in the remote island. Edward told his story. After that, Edward asked the captain how he came to know that he was stranded in the island. The captain replied that he got a fire signal which prompted to take immediate action to come there. Edward realized and understood that the fire signal which the captain was talking about was his burning hut. He understood that it was God's plan to get him out of the remote island by putting his hut on fire. This story teaches us that everything happening in your life is for a reason. God's plan is always the best. You will realize the reason when you reach the right moment.